38-day trip, 36 of them on the ground, a combination of hard packed gravel, some soft sand, some loose gravel. The trip was kind of designed with everybody in mind, with different levels of riding abilities. We came into this camp called Ngepi. I love the camp. It's one of my favorite camps, and it's right up in an area called Divindu. The only trouble with this camp is the road into this camp. This time we went there was just about everybody dropped their bike on the way through there. The sand is very, very soft and very deep. So you want to lower your tire pressure on your motorcycle so you have softer tire pressure, and then ride your motorcycle in, keeping the power on your motorcycle.
My first time on the continent, we chose a fantastic route to ride. We were lucky to be well guided.
He makes it look easy on his bicycle, pedal power. This is fun. This is challenging you. And that's what this trip's about. We're already in the camp here, and they have sculptures, some of them made out of steel, some of them out of concrete piece. And wonderful carving people. These people love to carve, and they are very, very good at carving. They have sculptures all over the place. This camp is so unique. It had mokoros, the boats. They've used those boats when they've become useless for using them in the water, and they turn them upside down and use them as tables. Every piece on this property is recycled. The local villagers around the area are collecting water from the lodge, and they're putting them in this mokoro. It is now being dragged by a team of cows. So they put all the water in there, and then they walk the cows home, which drags all the water back to their house. One of the other things that's really unique about this lodge is they have a swimming pool. They just took a cage, made this huge cage, put some flotations on the cage, and threw it in the river. And you swim in the cage in the river, so you can't get attacked by the crocodiles or the hippos. There's no chance of bilharzia, which is a parasite. They call it the world's first hippo and croc dive cage. Funny, the most dangerous animal in Africa, most people would say would be, a lion or hyenas or something like that. It's actually the hippo. They kill more people per year than any other animal. They live primarily in the water. Its skin is quite sensitive to the sun, so it spends a lot of time underwater. People go down to the water to wash, go for a swim, and quite often you don't see the hippos. So there's one problem. The other one is that you get between the hippo and her young because of the distance. But they might be the young might be on this side of the river and the mother might be over here, and you're coming through on a canoe, or you're swimming, or you're walking through there. It looks like you're a threat, and then it attacks you. And it is a big creature, and it will hurt you and generally kill you. The hippos come out of the water at nighttime to graze, And while they're grazing on the grass, if you get between the water and the hippo, they will attack. After we left Ngepi, we come out at Katima Mulilo, heading into Zambia. And it is the most bizarre border crossing. You have to stop for so many things at this border crossing. Is there anything else that you need us to do? Nope, nothing else. Have a safe trip. Off to Livingstone you go. We start taking off to Livingstone. 5 kilometers down the road, there's a police roadblock. Where's your tax, your road tax? No, we paid road tax. No, you have to pay road tax and a toll. So I said, no, I don't think we're going to pay that. Well, he looked up and there was 20 motorcycles, a big overland truck, and our rapid response vehicle, and he knew he was going to be handwriting tickets all day long, so he said, oh, forget it, just go. You're riding right through the heart of a national park. It's called the Caprivi Strip. And as you're going through the Caprivi Strip, it's not uncommon to see elephants on the side of the road. And we can stop our motorcycles and have a look at the elephants. Unbelievable amount of different animals at different times coming in front of us on the Caprivi Strip.
What a great idea to start early. That was excellent.
We pulled into Livingstone mid-afternoon. We camped at just on the outskirts of town. Went to our friend Bob and Marilyn, a couple of Canadian people, wonderful, wonderful people. Bob came with me to Africa a number of years ago and absolutely fell in love with Livingstone, Zambia. They've had this arts cafe, decided that's where they're going to set up home. They've got people that are carving there, all making money for themselves and showing them how they can be self-sufficient for themselves. Very proud of what they've done there. They've done an amazing, amazing job. They work with the community. We spent an amazingly beautiful evening there. Music, great shows. Anybody who goes to Livingstone, Zambia, your trip is not complete without having to stop in at the Arts Cafe and saying hi to Bob and Marilyn. We support a school called Linda West Basic School in Livingstone, Zambia, and Bob and Marilyn both have continued with the support of that school by putting the well in, by helping with the gardens. Every one of our clients that leave here, that go to the school, that go to Zambia, regardless of what they're doing in Zambia, I always encourage them to take pens and pencils and books and take it into the school. And I arrange that whatever lodge they're staying at, whether I'm with them or not, that we actually go to the school and we give the gifts to the headmaster, very, very lovely man. It's a great school. It's a wonderful school, and I love going there. This particular trip that we went there, everybody on this trip brought a lot of things for the school. A lot of these teachers will walk between 6 and 8 kilometers to go to school to teach kids. The kids will do the same. Look at this, they can't help but laugh and smile and just excited. And anybody who's got that quest or that knowledge or that want to succeed.
What kind of item? Someone mentioned.
The quality of education is very high. You don't show up to school a couple of times, your place is lost, someone else is going to go in there. The English is beautiful. They speak wonderful English. They speak Chichewa and Lozi. We've done quite a bit at the school with, with what we've been supporting. There's Well, the other thing we do is bring in a lot of clothes. The Beaver Valley Outreach here in Thornbury has worked closely with us. A couple of the ladies that work there have been on a trip with me. They are kids, and you can see, you know, fairly young, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. They get up in the morning, they make food for their siblings who are 5 and 6 years old. They get them set up to go to wherever they need to be because their parents are dead because of the AIDS problem there. I think 60% of the school are orphans at this particular school. They basically are raising them themselves. They're getting food from within the village, but yet they still are living in their home, in their little house, but with their kids. But the food is coming from the village. They want to learn. They know that the key to a good future is education. And we're moving into a generation of, people growing up. This is post-independence, post-civil unrest in the country. And these children are probably the second generation of children that have had an opportunity for education in the country. The thirst for knowledge amongst the local people is just phenomenal. Africa a more stable place if we have more stable schools. The key to a successful country is educated people running it. The countries that are stable are the countries that promote education. That's the Zambezi River that we're sitting there facing. Victoria Falls is the natural border between Zimbabwe and Zambia. The African word for Victoria Falls is Museo Tunya, which means the smoke that thunders. The Victoria Falls is absolutely gorgeous all times of the year. This is in October, which is the dry season. Rainy season, which is sort of January, February, March. That's when you'll start getting a lot of water coming over the falls. But even this time of the year, it's very beautiful because you can see where the Taita falcons actually nest. Some of the best whitewater rafting in the world is below the falls.
Botswana is very easy to go across. You enter Botswana, just tell them that you're there for 10 days. You're on holiday, you're doing a tour, you're there for 10 days, you're staying at Tebe, T-H-E-B-E, campground.
We'd finished in Zambia, which we had spent 3 days just in Livingstone. We started making our way down to Botswana. This, again, was an interesting border crossing. It's probably the most interesting border crossing in southern Africa. This is called the Kazangula. Just totally disorganized. There's 2 ferries that run backwards and forwards and load up whatever you can on the ferries and get from there. It's a 10-minute ferry ride across to Botswana. This is also where 4 countries meet. Angola, Zambia, Botswana, and Zimbabwe.
Each part of the trip has been unique.
We stayed up in the top northeast part of Botswana, the home of Chobe National Park. And Chobe National Park sports the highest concentration of African elephant, the Loxodonta africana. You got elephants crossing rivers, you got elephant with their young, you got elephant on the street, you got everywhere you look, there's elephants. But it is a very fertile park, and there's a number of reasons why. There's a lot of elephants there. I think there's about 125,000 elephants in this particular national park. Many other animals there. You got the water buffalo. You do have the big 5 in this area. We do a river cruise on the Chobe River, which is quite spectacular. because you get to see the animals coming down to drink. You get to see the Nile crocodile on the riverbanks, elephants coming down to drink, elephants swimming in the water, lolling around, and it's just very spectacular to actually see it from the boat. Great bird life, Botswana as well. The Chobe River and the Zambezi River actually meet here.
Going home is gonna hurt. Facing the reality of 9 to 5 compared with the freedom we've had here, it's gonna take a little bit of work to get back into the groove.
Heading south now, back towards the South African border, but we stopped in an area called Nata and set up camp. It's a really wonderful spot, top end of the Kalahari. This is a lovely oasis where we stayed. As brown as it looks and it appears, and as sandy as it is. That evening, we took off and went out to the salt flats and did a ride out in the salt flats, which is the Magadi Gadi pans. It's the ones that we went to. It's like a big salt pan. Pay attention to what is east, west, north, and south, because if you don't, you could end up in trouble. Beautiful, spectacular sunsets out in the pan. One of the problems with people going out in the pans is if you don't go out with enough fuel, it is so vast and so open, you could actually get lost. And then it was a long drive from here down to the border. We went basically heading to South Africa. We camped just on the other side of the South African border on the Limpopo River. The campgrounds were less and less sand and more grass, and then crossed into South Africa the following day. So that now we're crossed back into South Africa. The scenery's changed again. As you can tell, we've gone through such diverse scenery, and now we're getting back into scrubland again. And as we head more and more inland, we get more and more lush conditions. The roads are quite good to good. The weather had now, because it's getting into middle of October, it is quite hot by this point. So people are starting to feel the heat, starting to feel a little bit more fatigued. Wonderful old railroad station, no longer in use, become a great stopping spot in this middle of nowhere, where people stop in there and get some coffee or a cold drink and that. And it was then when I started realizing the fatigue was starting to set in with some of the clients. Got back onto the really good roads. This is the sort of the northeastern part of South Africa, and we're heading towards Hartbeespoort Dam, which is just north of Johannesburg. It's a lovely dam. Nice cool temperatures right on the lake. Chill out for a couple of days, no riding. First day back on the road going to Bloemfontein. This is the main toll road from Johannesburg down to Bloemfontein. We are negotiating traffic in the biggest city in Africa, trying not to lose anybody.
It's just straight, no turns, okay, until we go onto the freeway, so don't stress.
One of the things that's legal in South Africa, and people don't do it here, is that you're able to split the lanes, which means if there's a car over here and a car over there and a white dotted line in the middle, you can ride down through the middle of this dotted lane. After a long day's ride, we arrived in Bloemfontein, kind of a Spartan campground, but again, nice green, unlike we'd seen since Namibia. We left Bloemfontein. It was a beautiful morning. The weather was mild, absolutely gorgeous. People were telling us that it was probably going to rain further south, and it really didn't look like it, but unfortunately it did. The temperatures dropped, conditions got progressively worse, quite a bit of fog and cold and raining, and fatigue was setting in with some of the people. I recall we stopped at a fuel station for lunch. Yeah, most of us didn't really mind it, but there were a few that just had enough. And I think if this had happened earlier on in the trip, they would have been okay, but definitely fatigue had set in by this point. It was time to sort of stop for a couple of days. We were only supposed to be spending one night here and then moving further south into the Tsitsikamma area, and we opted to do 2 nights here. The open space, lovely bird life. That's kind of a unique bird that's called the weaver bird. It's a masked weaver, and they form their nests upside down and they enter their nests from the bottom. In Namibia, there were some huge nests, take up the whole entire tree. Some of these nests, and they keep growing year after year after year, and those are the sociable weavers, and it's like a big bird condominium. The next day was a fairly short ride, and we went to Tsitsikamma, just down the road from where we camped, which is one of the most beautiful, beautiful spots to camp, right in the national forest there. There's bungee jumping there. It's actually the world's largest bungee jump is Storms River Bridge, which is of course just down the road from Tsitsikamma. Downtown in Tsitsikamma, there is this place with a couple of Cadillacs parked outside there. They are hosting an Elvis festival. Leaving Oudtshoorn, we took the scenic Route 62, which is the old Brandywine route. It's very similar to what Route 69 is in the United States. It is some of the most spectacular mountain scenery that you will drive. It goes through beautiful valleys and rocky outcrops and huge boulders, and another one of the Baines roads, the same person who built Chapman's Peak also built a good portion of Route 62. By most of the people, that was some of the best riding that they had done was that last day coming into Cape Town. It's about 6 hours, and the scenery changes every 10 minutes. 1 minute you're on top of a high mountain riser, next minute you're running next to some boulders and open space, and next minute you're trapped in a whole lot of mountains and going down through the mountain passes. So just a lovely way to finish the time off, and you sort of cut down through a couple of tunnels. You're going down through the wine district as well. You start seeing from mountains to rocky outcrops to balancing rocks to vineyards and ever-changing colors. It is quite a way to finish your trip up on a good road, nice and windy and twisty, 6 hours of ever-changing scenery. As soon as you think you've seen the best of it, it gets better. But that's what Africa is, you know. It's not just the animals, it's the culture, it's the people, it's the history. We covered such diverse territory in 38 days, and we only touched the tip of southern Africa. We didn't even get into Africa. We did the southern tip of Africa. South Africa, Namibia, a little bit of Zambia, a little bit of Botswana, and that was it.
This baby was perfectly clean when I started it. Look how filthy it is. It's terrible. Chief guide on his promotional material when it says if you can only visit 2 continents in your life, visit Africa twice.
Most people who've been there will go back again.